This feels really awkward. I haven't done this in like 3 years. Alright guys, this is my video. This is the first video I've done in about 3 years, give or take. Life just gets busy, but I wanted to do something that was a little fun, something a little bit different than I usually did before. As some of you may know, I do boxing outside of my regular weightlifting. Not competing or anything, I just do it for exercise and for fun. My little brother Joshua, who you've seen in a couple videos, he's the one that does it competitively. He enjoys doing it. That's really his life's work as of now. I enjoy doing it quite a bit. I make an effort to go. I'm not going to say the name of the boxing gym I go to because I don't want to be doxxed. If you know me in my personal life, you will know what gym I go to because I always talk about it. I've invited some of my friends, and overall it's just a really good gym and fun place to be. So the video I wanted to go over was to go through my boxing bag. A lot of stuff, and if you are thinking about getting into boxing, I don't think you have to get all of your stuff right away. There are some stuff you do need, and I will go over that, but let's just get into the bag. So one of the first things I do recommend people getting is boxing shoes. These are Adidas ones. They're not that expensive. I think they cost me about $80. Nothing too crazy. I think for your first few classes, you can get away with a couple of Converse, Nikes, something like this. Something like these are similar to the shape. They do have the ankle support that you have, but if you look under here, the traction is a little bit different, and then also the lacing is an important factor. You want to be careful when you're running around and using the boxing shoes. You don't want to twist your ankle or take a wrong step. The second thing you definitely will need for boxing is, of course, boxing gloves. Now, you don't need to go as brand nice as Promex. These were gifted to me by my little brother, so you don't necessarily need these. I always like the Velcro, just because it is a little easier to put on. You don't necessarily need to have the Velcro. A lot of people like lace-up ones. Like I said, if you're just starting out, Velcro, kind of easy. You know, especially when you have your hand wraps or you have another glove on. But as you get more serious about it, you're going to get nicer gloves. These gloves are actually higher end. They're more for competing, as you can see here, professional style. They work just fine for, fun, but they are more expensive set of gloves. And if you are going to get into boxing, I would recommend starting with a cheaper pair of gloves. And if you stick with it long enough to where those gloves wear out, you upgrade to a nicer pair, something like Promex or maybe a nicer Everlast pair of gloves. The second thing I have in my boxing bag is my headgear. It's a little messy because I haven't used it in a while. Boxing is an inherently not dangerous sport, but there are risks associated with it. This doesn't necessarily mitigate the risk to the head, is same thing with football helmets. Your brain's just moving around, so there's stuff you could do to prevent that. But proper training, as long as you're safe, you're not sparring hard every time, you should be okay in the long run. I use this mostly just for superficial cuts. I work in a public setting. I work with, the public. I don't want, a black eye cut on my face. As cool as it may look, it doesn't necessarily portray the best in the workplace. So I use this just to mitigate superficial cuts. Doesn't necessarily mitigate the internal damage, but there are other ways to reduce that. Now, the other thing I have in here, mouthpiece, pretty self-explanatory. Nothing too crazy. This was $15-$20, I think, at Dick's Sporting Goods. Nothing crazy. Boil some water, put on your teeth, put in some cold water. You know, it's important to have. You don't want to bite your tongue off. You don't want to, chew. You don't want to bite your cheek super hard and have it bleeding. I have bitten my tongue a couple times during sparring without a mouthpiece. I do not recommend it. So if you're going to start boxing, I would say get a mouthpiece. Another thing I have, resistance band. I don't really think you need this either. A lot of boxing gyms, especially the one I go to, they have resistance bands. What some people like to do, well, bad example, they'll use this for stretching. They'll use this to work on their combos. They'll use it for stretching, getting warmed up. I use it more for stretching. It is a good way to build up resistance training. Just be careful that you have a good grip on it so it doesn't snap back. Definitely hurts getting hit in the face with one of these. Don't ask me how I know.
Firme.
Now, another thing I do recommend having is some snacks. Now, some argue you don't need to have it. Me personally, I need something to chew on right after boxing. Something easy, something relatively with protein. Trail mix. Yes, it has sugar and stuff, but after your body burns all those calories, it's going to need some kind of form of quick energy. And then after that, that's when you get your proper nutrition. Another thing that you absolutely should have, hand wraps. And I would say get multiple pairs of them. Now, blue is a good color to go, but everyone knows that red is the best color. So you want to go for red just because they work better. Jokes aside, I do recommend having hand wraps just because they protect your hands. You are hitting a bag that's hard, heavy. You want to be careful with your hands long run. You also want to make sure you're wrapping them right, not too tight, not too loose, just because if you do, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to hurt a little on top of the sport that's already kind of intense. So there's plenty of, ways to wrap your hands. I was taught differently than other people. My favorite way is doing it the anime style from the boxing anime. I'm going to put it right here. You can get the gel pads to further cushion the blow on your hands. If you're wrapping your hands correctly, you don't really need them to mitigate any form or mitigate the majority of risk of arthritis.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Of arthritis, you want to use cushioning, good hand wrapping techniques. Maybe use an aqua bag, but nothing too crazy. The other thing I have you absolutely do not need is a hand wrapper. Honestly, you put it here, breast goes here. You tie it here, breast goes through here, and then you tie it up, it's hand wrapped. You don't really need it. For me, I have a whole bag of hand wraps. Saves a lot of time, especially when you're going to boxing 2-3 days a week. You're using new hand wraps every day. Ideally, if you don't, you kind of sting. But it just kind of speeds it up. I also recommend getting one of these mesh bags. I don't know how many times I had to untangle all my hand wraps from mine and my girlfriend's clothes after doing laundry. It's a pain. If you get one of these bags, you can just toss them in here, zip it up, put it in the washer, dry it right like regular, and then they're not tangled up in the rest of your clothes and everything. Another thing I absolutely do think you should have, if you don't, you're kind of gross for not having it, a towel. Now, this is a clean towel. This is a clean towel. After boxing, you get sweaty. I don't think you should just have this for boxing. I think you should have this for any sport working out that you do. Just because it's kind of gross to go home all sweaty, even if you shower, but you're sitting in your car, you're sitting on the couch, you're wearing your jacket all sweaty. After a while, not a bad idea to get one of these. My neighbor's outside, and I got really embarrassed. So So we're gonna go over it one more time with just everything I think you do need starting off in boxing. Hand wraps, you gotta protect your hands. Mouth guard, you don't wanna bite your tongue off. Boxing gloves, self-explanatory. Boxing shoes are something similar. Eventually down the line, you are going to want to upgrade to a nice pair of boxing shoes just because of the traction and just because you don't want to mess up your ankle, and you want to make sure you have the right footwear. Another thing that could be necessary, could not be necessary depending on your goals. Headgear, but you also got to understand risk, mitigation, and everything that comes along with sparring. Now guys, I know it was a kind of a different video. Definitely want to get back into doing it. I enjoy making this kind of stuff. I enjoy talking about stuff I enjoy, stuff I'm passionate about. One thing I will say, definitely takes some getting used to, getting in front of a camera again. And also just getting myself out there again. I know in the past I was pretty good about doing videos, being on top of them. Life and school gets in the way. It's hard, especially when you're a young adult trying to find their way. And I have a good support system. My family, my friends, my wonderful girlfriend, they help me out very much, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe and comment what you want to see next time. Peace out.